What's up, everyone? Pittsburgh White Schwartz coming at you with another deck tech. Today we are doing a multi-deck tech for Guilty Gear Strive. Andy and I's sort of first look smoke test lists. Obviously joined today by Andy.
What's up, everybody?
And we have Paru along for the ride, who does not know almost anything about Guilty Gear Strive, but we are going to have to sell him on our decks. And I'm sure he'll have some questions for both of us that should lead to some good discussion.
That's right. I want someone to get me to open up TCG Player by the end of this video.
Okay. All right. That's the goal. All right. Well, let's start out with Andy's first deck here. Andy made two. I made one. Andy, you got a lot going on here. What's going on with this one?
Yeah. So, let's hop right into it. We've got a big old toolbox here. It started off as like just an 8-door deck. Then I didn't really know what I was doing at level 2, and it was easy enough to fit some of the green stuff in for the early play stuff. So that's kind of where I ended up with that. So 19 level zeros here, 4 copies of Amelia Master Assassin. That's like the backbone of the level 0 game here. It is the 4K runner. And it's also the early play condition for the level 2 combo, the green early play. So this is going to be good green fix for us. You're going to want to hold one of these in your hand going into your level 2, so you can get your early play condition met, because it has to be in your clock. But we have a lot of selection in the deck, especially with the level 1 soul combo, which is why you see so many 1-ofs in the deck, because it's very much a toolbox. Your level 1 combo, each one going to be searching 2 cards of your choice out of your deck. So a lot of overlapping effects, a lot of ways to mix and match. But moving on here to one of our other main plussing level 0 here, Time Traveling Musician. This is the Ricky effect, so you're going to pay 1 clock yourself to search your deck when you play it. And then on play, it's going to rearrange, look at the top 2 of your cards of your deck and rearrange them if you like. Which is a really powerful effect to incidentally have throughout the game, which is going to help our brainstorms hit. It can help once we get into level 1 to have our Giovannas hit their extra stock effect, and just be able to like notify you if you should go for a brainstorm or if you want to swing and trigger clean. It's pretty handy. So I'm a huge fan of that sort of effect, and having it stapled onto a Ricky is just the best thing ever, I think. Then 3 copies of probably one of the most important level 0s in the set, the Jacko. So either when it gets reversed in battle or at the end of its attack, if you have 1 or less cards in your memory, you get to send it to memory if you'd like. And it's also a drop search on player when it gets reversed. So 2 timings to be able to do a drop search is nice. But really the star effect here is being able to go to memory whenever you want it to, pretty much. Memory condition is kind of a big deal for Guilty Gear. It's kind of like the main gimmick of the set. Is you'll get a kick out of this, Paru, because you play Guilty Gear, don't you?
I've never played Guilty Gear before, actually.
I thought you played.
I don't know.
Everybody else has touched fighting games at some point. Paru is not.
Oh, well, it's really cool. Like, the main mechanic with the set, it's kind of like a meter mechanic. You know how there's like a meter in fighting games where you can like, unleash stronger attacks? So you kind of have that in Guilty Gear, where you like build up cards in your memory, and then you can send cards from your memory to your waiting room to activate your stronger effects.
And that's why you can only get a maximum of 2 memory, because there's only 2 tension points
2 levels
on the
of
Guilty
meter.
Gear meter, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you need that for a lot of your finishers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like one of the best ways, one of the best cards to consistently get into your memory, because you get it early on, and there's really not a lot of way for your opponent to interact with. Even if they want to like run it over, or even if you would be crashing it into something, like you can always just have it go to your memory, which is nice.
It's also just like a cracked opener in and of itself. It's like a on play drop search, on reverse drop search. Gives you memory for your other effects. Like, it's good dropping it like going first, because on reverse it could do its effect. If you have a second level 0 turn, it's 2 sculpts on 1 card. Like, just pretty insane, pretty overloaded.
Yeah, probably nice, like just reading it alone might be like the strongest card in the set, like strongest profile. 3 copies of the Green Brainstormer here. I'm going with this one, the green one in this deck, just for the color fixing. But it is a salvaging brainstorm, and when you play your climax, you can give 1,000 power somewhere. And also, on climax play, if you have another copy of itself in your waiting room, you can send that card to your memory. So another way to help get cards in your memory. Then we're getting the one-ofs here. One of the Nagori Yuki, which is the yellow card here is a climax swap. One copy of the Zato. He doesn't really do much on his own. He's a 500 assist that can switch around the cards in your clock every turn. But mainly he's there to be able to search up the level 1 combo because he powers up our early play Milias. A copy of this level 0 Milia, which is like a double filter. So on play, choose a card in your clock and switch it with a card in your hand. And you can also sacrifice it and discard a card to salvage a character. So another good card for the toolbox to give us some like on-demand waiting room access, or filter a card out of our clock or into our clock or whatever. One copy of this Soul Prototype here. This is like a tech card you're probably going to see a one of in most Guilty Gear decks, I would imagine. It's at least what I went with in both the ones I brewed up. He has a frontal assist effect that the characters in front of him cannot be chosen by your opponent's effects. So with just one copy of this in your back row, you can be completely immune from your opponent's targeting effects in a lot of cases. Since you swing with your unshrouded lane first, and then they aren't able to like tap counter or anti-change your like other lanes that are sitting in front of this. And he can also give you some incidental power when you trigger as well. But mostly they're just as a toolboxy card for in the games where we need the hexproof on the cards in front of him, or don't want like our finisher disrupted or early play strategy disrupted. He's a great card to put in the back. And then almost done with them here for level 0. One copy of the Happy Chaos, which is when you play a climax, he pops back to your hand, gives 2,000 power, and then he's a back row runner. So kind of just in there as like an additional card to open with because he can run to the back row. And it synergizes nicely, I feel, with the level 1 combo, which has you discard a card to search your deck for 2. So like you can, and it needs a reverse too. So the fact that this like pops back to your hand so you can discard it, as well as giving 2,000 power to one of your level 1 souls, is pretty synergistic, I feel, and that's why he's there. And just being like an extra opener, like especially if you go first. Then finally got one copy of this Kai, which is a Chiuri effect. So when he is put into your waiting room from stage, you get to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck for a level 1 or higher card. Add it to your hand, then discard. And he sits at, usually will be sitting at 3,000 power and level 1 when you drop him at level 0. But he's mostly there for the Chiuri effect. Again, only a one of here because it's something we can kind of grab when we need with our many door climaxes, many drop search effects we have going off with like the Jacko I mentioned earlier and the level 1 combo searching, just if we need some on-demand deck speed. So a lot going on at level 0 there, but it's a big old toolbox here. So moving on to level 1s, we got the level 1 combo. This might be one of my favorite level 1 combos in the game. At this point, the Soul Bounty Hunter, he gets 1,000 power for each other Guilty Gear character in your back row. So even on your opponent's turn, he's going to sit at 6k base before any other pumps if you have your back row filled. And then when he reverses his opponent's character, you get to discard a card and search your deck for 2 Guilty Gear characters, which is great for a few reasons. One, it's going to help you set up anything you're trying to do, especially if you can get multiples of these off. It just completely sculpts you for what you need at this point in the game. That could be some level 1 backups, which I have 2 of here, to be able to protect your souls and go for another combo, or just to win a lane. It can be to grab either of the pieces you need for your level 2 plan, which is the Milia early play, grabbing the clock condition if you need it, or just grabbing the Milia so you have it. grabbing extra copies of Soul if you want to go for a combo again next turn. This next card that's here, the Giovanna, if you have 2 cards in your memory, gets to check the top card of your deck and add it to stock when you attack with it if it's a level 1 or higher. So if you want to get some more stock generation, you can grab one of those and play it next turn. And if you need to get more memory to turn that effect on, you can grab a memory generator to pair with it, like a Jacko. This next card here, it's a level 1 drop search, or
climax swap.
Drop a climax. Yeah, the climax swap. Pay 1, discard a climax, salvage a climax. So if you like want to set up another turn of souls, you can grab him.
It's also 6k
then,
all the time,
yeah,
for like no reason. Like
same with the Giovanna. Those cards both sit at 6k.
Giovanna's just your turn, but Sol and the climax swapper, always 6k, which is nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So good auxiliary level 1 there, and then the Eno level 1, which is the mother of all tech cards. This one will knock your socks off, Baru.
It's a lot of stock.
It is a lot of stock, but it's very relevant.
Consider fuck Overlord.
It swings pretty big on its own, so it's like reasonable enough for a tech card. You can find a use in any matchup, but this is in your deck. It's like a silver.
Really, in any matchup, you can find a use for that.
Well, it's a 7k. You can at least swing.
Well, it's a 7k. Attacker.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the worst dead card.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the silver bullet effect being pay 4, send a card from your hand to your waiting room, send a memory to your waiting room, return all of your opponent's level 3 or lower characters in center stage back to hand. So it completely gets rid of all of their Einses. It doesn't target. And that's like a game-winning card in that matchup, probably. So you'll probably see, along with the Soul assist, the hexproof assist that I mentioned earlier, you'll see this Eno in most Guilty Gear decks as a
they
tech
have to
card,
hide Eins in the back row.
Yeah.
They have to tuck them away.
That's how you do it. And 2 copies of the counter. But I really like that level 1 combo, the Soul. It's really nice. It gives you a lot of compression on your first deck too, like in a very cheeky way, because you're just ripping a lot of clean cards out of your deck. So you're just setting up perfectly for your next turns, whatever you need, and then you're also just probably double triple canceling next turn because you're thinning 4 to 6 cards out of your deck.
I always just trigger. I like search and then I trigger, and then I search, and then I trigger again, and then I want to shoot myself in the face. But it's nice to know that other people are luckier than me.
It feels really, really nice when it happens. And
yeah, it feels
I'm
great.
just always a sucker for these combos. And it works most of the time.
It's a lot of selection. Yeah, it's a lot of selection. I'm just a bitch.
Okay, that's enough about level 1s. Moving into level 2s. Got 2 different counters here with the yellow May counter, which is an anti-change counter, and the Anji red counter, which is a memory kick. Both those effects are pretty relevant. Memory kicks can be even like pseudo money counters in a sense, depending what type of finisher your opponent's running, or if they have like a full field condition. Just getting rid of that card completely can be like really relevant. And of course the anti-change effect when everybody's slamming early plays nowadays. 2 copies of the Jacko assist. This is probably the strongest assist in the set for like how much power it gives. So it gives your level 3 characters in front of it 2,000 power, and can rest itself to give you a memory and give 1,000 power more. So, yep, just the best thing pretty much to have sitting behind the Milias. And going into like the final turns if you need additional memory. We don't really in this deck. Soul doesn't run off the memory at the top end, but in other builds, Jacko's nice for that reason. And then probably the main reason to splash into green is the Giovanna level 2. She is a Fumio. So when you play it, you can pay 1, discard a card. Your opponent chooses 1 climax in their waiting room and shuffles the rest of their waiting room back. So if they're in a really compressed deck state, like their deck's all climaxes and they're going to triple cancel, you can just send their waiting room back to their deck and re-rack, so you have a chance to actually stick damage, which is very important in this deck since the finisher burns for 4. I initially had 2 copies of this Giovanna in the deck because I thought it was that important. I think you can probably get away with 1. You can probably like tell the matchups you need it or might need it. And again, there's so much searching, you can probably get it, but having a second copy probably would be like a nice thing if you can fit it. Oh, and it gets 6,000 power on your turn if you have memory. So
it's
something
a
for
serviceable
11.5.
attacker.
So yeah, my opinion, the main reason to splash brain in the set, and you see a lot of people do that, so they can play this card. Into the level 3s here, we have an honorary level 2 with Amelia Winger. She early plays if you have the runner in your clock, like I mentioned before, and then on play gets to look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, takes any card from among them to your hand. It can be a bar climax for her combo. You can take a door combo to set up for your finisher, whatever you want. And then if you have the bar down when you attack with it, it salvages a character on attack with the combo, gets an extra 1,000 power, and on reverse of your opponent, you can send them to the top of deck. So if you really need like the hard removal, just get their stuff off their field, like against other early play heavy decks. I would search up the Zato level 0 to pair with it, so it can get an extra 2,000 power. So then they're swinging in at 10-5 with the climax, 11-5 with the climax combo, and then an extra 2,000 from the Zato. So they'd be swinging at 13-5, 15-5 if you have a Jacko assist down. And then you just get a hard remove 2 lanes, which is definitely pretty appealing. And I figure, we don't really have a whole lot else going on at level 2, bridging the gap there, and we have enough searching to set it up, so I figure, we can go for another combo here, and it helps add more green to the deck to use like the Fumio and stuff anyway, too. So that's why I'm kind of splitting it here. If you wanted to just do like a more standard 8-door deck, you could, and just like run some...
It's cool you bring that up.
Early plays, I guess.
This set definitely has a green problem. There's not
no.
enough. There are the good green cards are like so few and far between. The good green cards are good, but they're like not cards you want to play more than a certain amount of, or they're cards that you feel bad leveling. So it's like it's really hard to like find extra green to put into your deck, especially if you want to play green level 1s like the Geo. So I totally get this Milia.
The Master Assassin and the Brainstorm seem fine as green splash.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Brainstorm when we get to the next deck. But yeah, the Milia Winger is I never thought I'd see a deck where I actually like seeing this card in it. Because when we did the set review, but I actually like it here because I don't think it like hurts you to include it all with how selective this deck is.
Yeah, and it helps build hand for the finisher too. Just sculpting you for the ultimate finisher. Ideally, you want to be slamming 3 copies of the Soul Savior of the World as the finisher. A lot of times, I'll put some off finishers in there too. But I think the real main goal here is just triple field this. And even if you're in a situation where you can only get 2 off, the card is flexible at how you can apply its finishing effects. So when you attack with it, primary climax combo is on attack, pay 1, discard a card, burn for 4. So a nice last shot effect. Really important that your opponent, has some space in their deck so those can stick. So that's why why the Giovanna Fumio effect is important. So yeah, I mean, it's super cheap to do this. So like all you need to get triple soul combo off with the burn 4s, like triple burn 4, is just have like 1 stock going into your attacks. So like on 7 stock, you can triple combo, and that's a fuckload of damage to push. And people sleep on the burn 4 effect, but they'll eat 4 eventually, and they only need to eat the 4 once, and they're probably dead.
Especially because of the second effect, the pay 2 ditch one on reverse. Kick your opponent's top card to clock. And that's climaxless, so this card's kind of like an off finisher in and of itself.
Dude, this
In a
card
sense,
reminds me
yeah.
of Rando, but it's just
It is
costing
rando.
more.
Yeah,
but
it's
costing
rando, but
more.
only at level 3, and he costs more.
I would be fine if it was this like regular cost, even if it was only at level 3.
I think it's
But
still
the pay
probably
two-
good, yeah.
Pay 2 on reverse is kind of sad.
I think the main my intention with it is the main goal is to triple combo, get triple burn fours, and hope they eat one for a very efficient cost. But in games where maybe you had to level a soul early, or you're only able to get 2 copies onto your field, you can still utilize your extra stock in your hand. So it's not like you're completely missing out on you know what I mean? Even though you're not getting the final burn for, you can then start using your hand in stock to start clock kicking stuff to get some extra burn damage that way with the reverse effect. Or, and the deck can high roll really hard in that sense too. If you are triggering a lot of doors and bars during your attack step and filling back up your hand, if you've had a good game so far and just have a ton of stock to use, it gives you even more reach at the end in that sense. That it can scale, no matter how much hand and how much stock you have, you're going to have stuff to spend it on to deal damage to your opponent. I guess a closing thought on the deck, I had initially tried to use the restander events with the deck too to get multiple burn fours in one lane. And I guess you could splash one of those red events in if you wanted to, but it just didn't seem any better. It was just way less efficient than just playing the third soul and burning them for 4.
This sentiment will be a running theme throughout every single deck we talk about, actually. I'm glad Andy brought it up.
That was the main goal. I wanted to try to build something with those restander events.
Oh, trust me, that's where I was too. Yeah.
Got close to something, it just is just slamming triple combo would just be better because it's just so damn inefficient.
Yeah.
And the only deck that it seemed like it could work with would be the Shroud Pants finisher, which is
just because it's free.
A Mocha effect. But the fact that the Mocha sends the card to the bottom of the deck instead of waiting room kills it.
Yeah, because as you chew through the deck, you'll chew your way back down to that cancel. It sucks.
Yeah.
This looks interesting.
So that's where I'm at with the 8 doors. Just a lot of cards I like. Good old fashioned Zek and Shot. Great selection, level 1 combo, and burn 4s at the top.
Wow, it really is second shot, soul shot.
Kinda, yeah.
Does playing the Milia take away resources for playing soul? If you hit level 2 and you play down triple Milia, and then you go down to
I don't think it takes away as much as you'd maybe think. And you probably aren't trying, you might not be trying to triple Milia anyway. It's more of a card to bridge the gap into your level 3, I think. It refills your hand back up with the on play it's gonna draw you a card selectively from your top 3, and then if you get the combo off, it's salvaging a card for you as well. And again, because the soul is a very efficient combo himself, just on attack pay 1, ditch 1. You can expend some resources at level 2 to keep doing stuff. You don't have to hoard everything until the very end.
If you like the shell as well, but you don't like the Milia, you could always pivot off the Milia package to just Testaments and Faust early plays if you really wanted to. And the deck would probably play pretty similarly.
And then why? Okay, so I think the level 1 climax swapper is pretty good, right? Because it's just an oversized that's also a climax swapper. Why not play more of that instead of the level 0 climax swap when it's not even on color for you or anything?
Well, the other one's a sack cost.
Is it a sack?
Yeah, it's a sack climax swap. Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow one is on play. Discard a
interesting.
climax, sack another character.
Okay.
So
splits the conditions a little there. Originally, though, I did have what you said, the 2 level 1. But I kind of just wanted an extra level 0 because outside of the runner, I felt I didn't really have a great opening play. Because I don't have any other on death plussing effects or anything I don't know how to put it. nothing that like would feel good to just slam down. And I wanted to make sure I had enough like level zeros to be able to do something at level 0. Because like turn 1, like your other plussing level 0 being the Ricky, like I might need to just like sandbag and swing with a shitter turn 1, get a stock, and then turn 2 play down the Ricky and start going.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's like this deck, like the breakdown of color, it's like pretty much entirely red and green. So like the 1 yellow card, I don't think really hurts that much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not on topic. I wonder if we'll ever see the sack climax swap on reverse or on death. Because that could be really interesting.
Yeah, that could be a cool way to push it. Because you could sack something that's already attacked. Or something that's already reversed.
Right. Just so
That'd be
we'll
kinda
get
like,
there.
that would be like weird timing though, because I feel like you want to swap your climax before you go to your climax step.
Yeah,
And
you'd
you
have to
can
like play
attack.
ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, we don't need to go too much into that. It could
would
be
be
cool.
cool,
That's all
though.
I'm saying. Yeah,
All right.
I think this deck's cool, Andy.
Yeah, it
Thanks.
is
I
second
kind of just
shot.
put a bunch of cards I liked into a deck. I just love that level 1 combo.
I like
I
that
think we
it's
can probably
6K.
move on to the.
Yeah.
I do like it's always 6K,
He's
and
just
being
a
able
big
to search the
guy.
counters to defend it too. But depending on like what the meta is looking like, if there's a lot of like 2-1 early play stuff going on, or like
Well, Alice is
a
gone.
lot of standby,
We'll be fine. You're good at
we'll
level
be a
1
bit
at
meta
least.
dependent.
All right, moving on. Standby bar ram. This is like the like shell that everybody's been talking about when it comes to Guilty Gear. I have some limited experience testing it in the sim, both like smoke tests against like just the computer, and then played against some people, just trying to get a feel for how the deck plays, what the general like pitfalls of the like shell might be, what problems it might have, and those problems are why the deck looks a little bit different than maybe what you expect. You might be saying, where is my card I kill stuff with at level 0? Where is my Ricky? Where are all these things? The way the deck plays and the way you take your turns have led me to take the deck in this direction. It is unfortunately a deck where at level 0 you don't kill a lot of things, and I normally hate these decks because they feel really awkward to play. The Kai does help here, which is why I'm playing 4. The Kai Chiri here, because he is 3k level 1, so long as your opponent doesn't have 4 characters down. So even if they just...
Only during opponent's turn, though.
Yeah, only during opponent's turn. So at least going first, you have a card that might live that you drop, which makes it like, okay, you're still not killing anything, but at least you have a card that can field plus, as well as the coin flip here. But the other reason for 4 Cherries, just going left to right here on the zeros, you need to fill your grave with cards very, very quickly for this deck. You need to have more than just your 2/2 in your grave when you go to level 1. You need to have multiple cards that your Ram Brainstorm can hit. Your Ram Brainstorm only puts copies of herself and copies of 1/0 Lucifero into memory when you play a climax. And because you're playing this Geo that every deck is trying to play, because this card is really good when it's online, you need to have 2 memory on your first level 1 turn as consistently as possible. A single Jacko a lot of the time isn't getting you there unless you also open the Brainstorm. So we needed an additional card to not only set our memory, but also a way to ensure that we are milling extra Brainstorms, extra Luciferos, as well as our 2/2 into our grave on our first level 1 turn. That's why I'm maxing out 4 Fukas. 3 to 4 Fukas is about the only way that I was able to consistently in every single game have both a 2/2 and a card for Ram Brainstorm to hit more often than not. Almost every game. It's Weiss. Can't do it all the time. Similarly, problem that Andy experienced, fitting green into the deck. You really don't want to level Luciferos, Brainstorms, or really Geos, because you want Geos on the field. We're already only playing 3 Ram because we only need 1 on the board. We don't want to level one of those. We obviously don't want to level our Fumio. So it really comes down to the only levelable green cards in the deck being this coin flip and this Geo. So that's why we're on the coin flip. The coin flip is just a level 1 or higher coin flip, and then on play, you can choose any Guilty Gear character in your waiting room and send it to your memory, provided you have 1 or less memory. So it is one of the only ways in the set to proactively on drop generate a memory to ensure that your Geo at level 1 is going to resolve. So that is the reason why we are on this like kind of wonky looking Orchieri 3 coin flip line. And like no real oversized beater, because we just need to fulfill those 2 things to have our deck consistently go off, because we have to hit a very specific cadence and ordering of effects where we play a standby at level 1, play a standby at level 2, play a bar at level 2, level 2 or 3, and that's the way our deck has to go. And to hit that, we have to have very specific things happen, and Grave is the most important break point there. 3 Jacko, same reason, because we aren't. I was originally playing the Testament, which added some drop searches to the deck, so we were only on 2, but then I upped it to 3 once I changed it to look like this, and this has been very consistent. This like 4-3-3 lineup. 3 Ram, same reasoning. Again, these things got to be in your graveyard when you play the standby at level 1. You're usually looking to have Jacko or the coin flip go off at level 0, and then slam a climax with Ram to get your second memory alongside playing your combo. And then Jacko just being a crack double time drop search. We only need to see 1 of our Jacko combo because she sacks the climax. Means that we really don't need the Ricky anyway, because we only are trying to get 1 card and then slam other cards on top of it. We can only ever combo once per turn with the standby, so I didn't really feel like the Ricky was necessary. We have another option for self-clock if needed. I am playing 2 of the Happy Chaos because all of these standby cards are dinky on offense. And also because uniquely with the Happy Chaos, if you open this card in this deck, the way that this deck plays, this card can potentially be in cycle the entire game. You open this card going first, drop it down, pay 1, cut it to the back row. Even if you go directly to 1, play a standby, pop this back to hand, resolve your combo, play it down again, make sure your Biken can win lane, making it 11-5 on attack before other buffs. And then obviously it has synergy with your Ramlethal, ensuring that Ramlethal is outside of the range of any memory kick in the current meta, so that because you can't have her leave the field or the Luciferos lose their effect. So very important card for the deck, and again, if you open it, can be in cycle the rest of the game. So I am running 2. You could run 1 if you want. One of the double filter.
I like the 2.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I like the 2, especially since you mentioned earlier, like for plussing level 0s. This is another one that pluses.
Yeah, it just does double duty.
Good to open with.
Mm-hmm. And like if you have extra standbys at 0, where like you like cancel on all your Jackos and you need to get 1 of the field, you just need to play a climax. He can at least help you like win a lane at 0 too. So not that bad. One of the double filter, one of the Sol hexproof assist is very important in this deck because Ram is susceptible to anti-change. So we really want to have that down when our opponent is like sculpted and ready to answer us, especially if they're like very in the know about what the deck does, which at this point I think pretty much everyone is after release. This is what everybody's trying to do as early as possible. You're going to need this down to ensure that your Ram doesn't get yeeted by anti-change counter. Because again, she needs to be on the board to give the Luciferos their effect. And then for our clocking, I said we had a way to clock ourselves. We are playing a 1 of this Biken. It is a Cosma effect where you can filter a character out of your hand to clock both on play and on death to check the top 3 cards of your deck and add any card from among them to your hands. This is a way to dig for climaxes. Again, we have to hit a standby at 1, we have to hit a standby at 2, we have to hit a bar at 3. This is just a way for us to expend our health because our very more aggressive deck to get into that card that we need. And because it's double timed, mean we can, for no stock, just hand cost, dig 6 cards deeper into our deck if we need to. Because Ram isn't stock costed, at least herself, to spawn the Luciferos and she pluses cards back, the fact that we would expend 2 cards to dig deeper into the deck by playing and then overplaying the Biken doesn't hurt us too much when we're just trying to loop and keep the pressure up.
Can I interject with a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Stop me at any time.
I really like that card, the Biken, right?
Yeah, the check 3.
Yeah, I like that card a lot, and I was thinking about it for standby because it not only does it like set you up for stuff, but like it helps you get to the next level for your standby
Yeah,
too.
it's two damage to the next level.
I was just wondering, did you consider playing like more of that, just like so you can see it early on to like ensure that you're hitting level 1 first and other standby things like that?
You could definitely play 2. I think it's between that and the Happy Chaos at 0, being a 2 of. Again, my personal preference is like these decks that can't kill anything at level 0 to me just feel like so terrible a lot of the time, that anything that gives me extra pluses at level 0 is welcome. So I slanted towards that. Is like not being able to kill your cards, your opponent's cards at level 0 can feel pretty miserable. Even if you have like something as strong as this deck has going on, that you have to like set up stuff in service of it. It can still feel pretty bad.
You know what's messed up? I think back in the day, I used to play like Kimono Friends with 12 500 power characters in it.
Yeah.
And even that,
I've watched Zach
even
do
that was, even that was better than what I'm looking at here for power.
And those were the good old days, right?
There was a way I was building this deck with the 3500 Testament oversized drop search. It's literally 2 or less. It's literally Megumin Paru, the same card. And it's blue. There is a way to build it with that, but I felt that, you know, it made the opening a little bit more sacky, because you just weren't getting the Geo online. You could build the deck without the Geo. I'll get to that at the end. But
yeah, I like that card too, like the drop search, the 3500. And it's something I wanted to include in my decks more. But like, as good as it is, it like it overlaps a lot with the Jacko.
Jacko, yeah.
It's like a double drop search too. So it's like you have all this drop search. Like all your good cards at level 0 are drop searching.
Mm-hmm.
Can I start asking you questions, or are you?
Yeah, you can start asking me questions.
So, despite having a standby in the deck, you're like just never winning field, right? That's like expected, or
you win field with the Happy Chaos and the Geo, like on offense. I mean on defense. But on defense, no, not really. The Biken will hold board at level 1 against 1k1 decks in the meta right now, and that's it. And even then, probably not very often.
And then is your plan to start doing the level 3 combo like early?
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay.
The plan is ram as early as possible, as often as possible, because Guilty Gear doesn't have stock swaps, so we have to put our opponent on a clock as early as possible.
Oh, that's rough.
Mm-hmm. That is one of the biggest downsides of the set, and that is why Standby Ram is probably going to be the deck to go to, just because, you know, big build up and blow up combos aren't as good when like your opponent can like look you in the face and just have a bunch of stock. But all right.
I remember people getting hyped over this version, this like variant of the deck, and maybe it's good, but it doesn't look very exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to play than it is to look at it. It's very engaging to play so far. I am like chomping at the bit to get my playset from Ollie because he got hit by the delay. So I've been like playing in the sim like constantly, trying to like hone in my deck for when I get my cards.
Mm-hmm.
But into level 1, only 3 Jackos. This card is actually really similar to the Soul, where it is on attack instead of on reverse. You can discard a card and sack the climax to search 2. So we can only combo once, but it is on attack. And then if you don't have another character she can't stand, that's what's her drawback for being a 1/055. It's fine, but she's dinky. Happy Chaos helps with that, as well as the extra 1,000 you get from slamming climax. So you can pretty reliably, at least in my case right now, against English meta decks, win level 1 at least a couple lanes, even against standby decks, with this extra 2k and extra 1k that you can split up however you'd like.
What is happening in the art of the level 1 combo?
She's putting Kai in her like
is this like an actual game screenshot?
Yes.
This is the worst looking card I've seen in this set.
Yeah, I kind of want to pick up SRs because the base rare art is pretty bad. Yeah. But it is a good card. It's just bad art.
Yeah, I agree.
4 of the Ram combo, not because we actually need 4. I actually did a lot of testing with only 3, and having 3, as long as you're cognizant of where they are at all times, wasn't that big of an issue. Only like 1 of like 20 games did I like lose track of a Lucifero, and ended up only being able to like have 1 lane of combo. So it wasn't really an issue with 3. The main reason I'm running 4 is to not only shore up counts of green that can coincidentally be in our clock at level 1, not that we ever want to level this Lucifero, just increasing the kind of green cards, but as well as having additional copies of this to play at level 1, because we are a fake standby deck that's not playing to win board and doesn't expect to win board. This card gains a soul when any climax is in play, but is a 6k 2 soul beater when we play our standby combo. So it helps us keep up, like damage, despite playing a standby at level 1. As well as later on. 3 copies of the Geo. We are going all in. Extra stock in this deck is really nice. I'll talk about that when we get to the actual Ram finisher. But this card, like, you reveal top. As long as you have 2 or more memory on attack, reveal top to level 1 or higher, you put that card into stock. I actually have had many times playing this deck where you swing in with the combo first, because you want to thin junk cards out to like trigger extra standbys and stuff anyway, trigger climaxes. You need bars in hand later anyway. Triggering extra standbys is always good. You thin out like the last remaining zeros from your deck to like increase the chance of the Geo hitting, which is a very nice like happenstance, the way the combos happen to work. You could also do that with the Sol combo in Andy's previous deck as well. It does come up more often than I ever thought it would. Like looking at my deck and being like, there's 3 level 0s in here. These level 0s are good enough tech cards. I'll just take these because they'll exchange for cards next turn and ensure that my Geo hits give me extra stock, which is always nice. But because we are all going more all in on this card as a resource generator, we are playing 3 copies as opposed to 2. If we were taking, less of a like aggro memory, like trying to get our memory condition as quickly as possible on our first level 1 turn, we could probably cut this down to 2, but the card is still so good going into like the mid game when you just need like a decent attacker that could do a thing. Why not play a free stock charger? Pretty decent. And then routing out the level 1, the same 2 auxiliary red level 1s that you will probably see in almost every Guilty Gear deck playing red, the 6k climax swap and the Eno bouncer. Level 2, 3 Bikins, because we are a half standby deck and we only need 3 2/2s. The Bikin's actually really cool for a standby deck that doesn't expect to win field, because she has Hand Encore and then an effect where she can sack herself to give another lane 2k, another way to make sure that our Ram is over a memory kick counter. We only need 1 2k buff to make sure that she's completely out of range of anyone's post backup power threshold. She sends herself to the bottom of the deck, gives a character 2k, and lets you salvage a card. This is really good for when you are proactively using the climax swap to grab your climaxes for next turn when you trigger bars. So like, say you're at level 1, you have a standby and a bar in your hand, you can play down the climax swap into the standby that you need for the next turn, because you usually want to play 2 turns of standby combo into playing bar for the rest of the game. The Bikin that you put on board, if your opponent stays at level 1 and they more likely than not cannot clear the Bikin, or even you Hand Encore it, you can then grab the climax swap back to like swap another climax for the right one for the next turn. So you have a lot of ways to flex that effect. The fact that she can Hand Encore and then turn into like a basically a sack salvage, the same economy, even if she does get reversed, as well as being a 2 soul beater, is like really, really cool. I did fuck around with adding extra standbys to the deck and playing less bars, but the bars are actually so important for doing repeated turns of combo that I would never play less than 4. And I think playing less than 4 is actually an int. It does nothing but decrease your consistency. The extra standbys add nothing to the deck. The bars add a lot.
I was gonna ask that later, so I'm glad you touched on it.
Yeah. You know what card I think is cool with the Bikin?
What card?
What is your hand size like in this deck?
After your first combo, it's usually 5. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah, it's not super big unless you get an extra plus, like a bar trigger or something like that.
I was thinking the Nago climax swap would be really cool with this, because you could sack her and then Hand Encore her.
Yeah, you could.
Her.
The Nago
So
is
make it
something
like a-
I tried to include because like this deck is a climax swap hungry deck, but like you're selective enough off the effects that you have that having the one hasn't been an issue yet, but it is something I have been thinking of.
Okay.
One of the Fumio, same reason as Andy's, we're swinging for threes. We want to have dead space in our opponent's deck so that the damage deck thick, damage stick. Important to remember. And then I am playing the 2/1 Testament. The 2/1 Testament is when you play them, you may discard a card to salvage a character. So that's a may effect if you don't ditch, or if you don't salvage, you don't have to ditch, whatever. And then it has a effect that gives us extra reach. We can pay to ditch to tap this card, pop a card from our memory to waiting room, and burn our opponent for 1 twice in main phase. This is when I was testing the events versus this card, or this card with the events in the deck, with a geo focus for extra stock, without a geo focus for extra stock. I could never justify having the event in the deck because I could never realistically hit it outside of the games where I was rolling so hard that my opponent would have lost to 42 level zeros and 8 climaxes anyway. Where they were having such a bad game, or I was high rolling so hard that it literally didn't matter what I was playing. So at that point, like a card like the Restander event is like completely worthless. You want to have reach cards in your deck to, in bad situations where you were behind, increase your reach so that you can actually come back and win. Or when you're having a normal game, have notably precise damage, which this has 2 pings for 1, to help you close out games. So the Testament was not only more achievable, being kind of a drop search on a stick in and of itself, increasing our selectivity going into the end game, but also having a far more reasonable effect for adding extra reach to the deck over the event. And I know the event has like upsides for being like super low maintenance, where like all you have to do is clock it, and like it can be a pseudo like clock salvage or whatever, like if you set it up, like if you play it later in the game. And it has the buff of giving something 3k. But all those benefits aside, the Testament was just so much more easy to resolve and had a much more bigger impact than playing the event in the deck ever did, because I actually resolved this card many games, unlike the event, which I think I resolved like 3 of 30 games or something like that. I'd have to check my notes, but it was like it was not very many in the like relevant games, because like at least the way I test, I don't know how you guys test. I have like, I go like this was a game that was like, you know, this happened, and this is like, okay, this is statistically relevant, this is not relevant, etc., etc.
Well, I just play 3 games and I take the results at face value.
That's also another powerful strategy. But in statistically relevant games, the Testament was a far better card for increasing reach in this deck versus the
Card does look really sick
versus the Restand. And I know the Restand with the Ram like does theoretically like increase the reach a lot more for quote unquote 1 more stock, but like you got to think of the timings, you got to think of like how the Ram combo works. We're not gonna like have stock at the end of our Ram combo because we're like paying stock out. Like the fact that the Testament like comes in main phase means that we can like plan our turns out a little better. We have like better optics on like our damage output.
You also can't sculpt for the event, right? You just have to get it.
Yeah, you have to get it, but like also you can just take a single copy as damage and level it, so it's like kind of fake and super low maintenance. That was the good part of the event, is like you never needed to have a card, it was just there. But that benefit aside, the Testament was much better. And then like lastly, like rounding it out here, the Faust early play heal option, because we are taking like a turn at level 2 where we don't do anything and we need a card engrave. Well, not don't do anything, but we stand by our Ram out to the back row to then move it up on the second level 2 turn. The fact that Faust is a healer that also discards a card and helps us stay at 2 means it's exactly what we're looking for. And we only ever really want to play 1 in a game, maybe a second one if the game goes long, so a 3 count is perfect. Ram, similarly, we only ever need to have 1 on the board because we can only ever do 1 of the combo. And even only needing 3, you have a lot of time to put like a Ram Engrave. You have a combo that searches. You have a bunch of ways to ditch stuff. You have a card that like exchanges cards in clock, for Christ's sake. If you can't set up a Ram into your waiting room, you either got like turbo fucked or like things are going like so bad for you, like the game was probably lost anyway. So 3 Ram has been more than reasonable for setting it up. And the reason like Ram is so sick and why we want to do it early and as often as possible is that the combo to summon the Luciferos is literally free, and it's a +1, even considering that you're playing the climax from hand. So if the Ram's on the board, you move up the Ram, you slam the bar, you pop a card from memory, and then you spawn the Luciferos from waiting room or deck to the field. And then they get a soul and they get like 6,000 power. The Luciferos swing for 13k, 3 soul swings, and they have on attack, pay 2, ditch 1, burn 3. So you get 3, 3, 3, 3, swing with Ram. Ram also has on attack, reveal top if it's a character, burn 1, swing 3. Starting at level 2, and then because the combo is free, I literally have games where my line is pay 3 encore, play bar Ram combo again, because the combo literally pluses and burns your opponent.
So like, because of how the thing works, by the way, you can just play the climax, dump the guy out of memory, and then
immediately put it back. That's what I was gonna say.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
It literally is an infinite loop.
That's sick.
The only reason we're adding extra memory generation into this deck at all is to support Geo, because Geo is such a powerful card. And it might turn out that like Geo's not to play, and like tunnel visioning on trying to support Geo is bad, and that we should cut the card and play a more reasonable level 0 so that we can actually kill stuff, or like maybe play an off finisher level 3, or like literally any other number of cards that we could play, and that tunneling on Geo is bad.
Reasonable, right? Since like you don't even really need stock in this.
It is. The extra stock is nice though, because it lets you just like, okay, like it lets you like mash Brainstorm with Reckless Abandon to get extra resources. Obviously extra stock translates into Testament burns, and the burn ones are really nice when you're like sticking 3s. 1s are really good when you have 3s incoming, because like, you know, if a 1 sticks, you just, you know, you only need 2 swings to stick, right? On your turn for your opponent to take a level. Is like the way I like to think of it. So like the ones definitely feel super good, because everything's coming in for 3 on in the deck. But yeah, that's the basic idea. Ram's pretty nutty, but I think the list, I'm not even happy with this list. This is just where I was at in testing when Andy and I were putting this video together. And there's much more testing to do. I'm interested in like just dropping Geo entirely and seeing how the deck plays.
Playing this without Geo is like where, so far between the 2 decks, like where I would start.
Like what would you play instead
this with a more normal?
I mean, the deck is pretty.
I don't know what
the deck
is.
is pretty stock light, so you might not need the Geos. But like, what would you think? Like at the moment, Carmen, like if you took them out, what do you think you'd try instead?
If I took them out, then I wouldn't need the coin flip at all. But then I'd also be down 6 freaking green cards, because I didn't get a chance to mention this, or I mentioned it at the beginning. The Brainstorm only sends itself, only sends Lucifero. Lucifero you want to have in rotation so that Ram can rip it out of deck at level 2 to compress you further. So you want the Brainstorm to send itself and like minimally another Lucifero. So like, but then you also need to have green, and like
I think
you don't want to
green
level.
runner that Andy was playing was like reasonable.
Yeah, the Milia runner's fine. It's just not I don't know. It's not like a, if it was just a center runner, I'd like it a lot more. The fact that it's 4K on, turn 2K off, avoider in a meta where it's very easy for people to tri-field means that if people are just easily tri-fielding with the way power lines are working out now, I would rather just play 4 Kai, because dropping a Kai going first has the same, like in a side lane, has the same chance of living as like the Milia running to the side lane, right? Like, because I don't know, especially right now with Hololive existing, the 3-5 in the center being a like relevant thing, and there not being that many 3-5 center runners around. Like the side lane at like 3K is fairly safe, whereas like 2K could probably trade with a utility card, which is why I kind of favored the Testament. But like again, if I cut the Geo, I'm losing 6 green. I kind of have liked how the coin flip is played. I kind of have liked how the Geo plays, because the Geo also digs for triggers, and we're in a deck that really wants to slam a climax every turn from level 1 onwards for the rest of the game. So any card that like digs us either to a trigger or to a possible cancel on the other turn is so good, even not even thinking about the fact that that card that it moves goes to stock, like it's pretty valuable. So I don't exactly know, but I'd have to get the greenback somewhere, and I don't know if the Millia is it, but lots of testing to be done. Maybe an off finisher too. I like the TD Sol is always nice. He grabs climaxes. He grabs climaxes and rams so free that you could do, like, if you needed a bigger swing, like the burn 3 wasn't gonna cut it, like you were really behind, you could like squeeze a burn 5 in there too.
I'm just kind of looking here at like everything that I see on Encore decks. You mentioned the Restander event, but you didn't mention the green event, the more defensive from.
Oh yeah, I don't think Guilty Gear is a defensive set at all. I think Guilty Gear is a kill 'em set. No defense here. That like the defensive event is literally the only defensive card in the set. Like that and anti-change counter.
It's like, is it a money counter?
No, it's what is it? It's -3 soul.
Oh.
But it's one of those memory cards, so you can just like clock it at some point.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It activates in level.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And you can only ever resolve it once. You flip it face down. If you had all
So
three.
I don't know. Maybe you can throw a couple of those in just to like, if you fail to kill them, at least you have something to fall back on, and it's like an easy green to level. Just looking at the other green, there's like a green level assist that's, or not level, a green 1500 assist that can start healing you at level 2. That's pretty solid.
The 2/1, that card's fine. I did have a copy of that in the list at a point.
Could be reasonable to run a second copy of the Fumio, just because you maybe like clutch on that. And then otherwise, I'd say probably like Ollie said, like the runner I had in the first deck is probably like your best green level 0. You could always just run like a 4th copy of the Brainstormer too, since it can send itself from leading room to
like,
memory as well.
Then I won't feel as bad leveling one. But it's just the fact that you want to keep all the RAM cards in rotation means that like they count for green, but they don't really count for green. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just pretty annoying. All right, well, we can move on to the last deck. I'm sure this isn't the last you've seen of this deck on the channel. I'm definitely pretty invested in it. So, all right, moving on to the other one. We got some Dolphins. Andy, tell us about the Dolphins.
Totsugeki. Yep, I think just out of the gate, like I think the two big decks people were looking at, the Standby Bar that Carmen just talked about, and I think this May Restander deck. I think those are like the two ones that people are gravitating towards. I think those are like one of those two will probably be the big one, and what I see people testing with. I'm not going to spend too much time touching on the stuff we've already covered here. So starting off at level 0, 4 copies of the drop search, the Ricky that looks at top 2 rearrange, 4 copies of the Jacko. I'm up to the full 4 copies of the Jacko in this deck because the finisher in this list actually does utilize the memory meter effect. And since the idea at the top end is to use 2 Mays with a Kai, you need to have 2 cards in your memory going into your attack. So the Jacko being able to send itself so easily just for free throughout the game, then they just sit there, is pretty great. 3 copies of the May Brainstormer. It's there because it's yellow. Notable difference from the green one, it's a search brainstorm instead of a salvage, and when you trigger a climax, When you attack, you can give 1,000 power. So pretty much equivalent to the other one, but this is yellow. 2 copies of the Leo clean cut because I like clean cuts, and it's extra yellow fix for the deck. Some of the best yellow fix at level 0, probably, I think. And I like it with this next card. These are just 2 of like my favorite types of profiles that everyone else seems to not like anymore, but I still love them. Good old clean cut with free runner combo. Nice little tri-field at level 0. Cut your weaker card, like Brainstorm or something, to the back row, and then you have a runner to move around in the open spot. I think that's pretty sweet. Not to mention the Kai free runner is also a Climax, discard a Climax, salvage a character. And in a deck with Pants, you know, we might be getting Climaxes, too many Climaxes in our hand. That's a good out for them.
Wow, they reprinted
so
the
some
Mega
nice
Mean
utility
runner.
through the game.
Yep. Yeah, it's Mega Man Runner.
Got the Soul again. You know, our top end focuses on a restander here, so having the hexproof is like definitely relevant in certain matchups. So know the matchups where you're going to need that card, and make sure to put it behind your Kai, and swing in the proper order so you don't fuck yourself. 1 copy of, and then finally 1 copy of the Kai Chieri. Just because I wanted like an extra blue spot at the end, and I guess kind of like Carmen mentioned, the 3K power is big enough to hold field sometimes, and some nice deck speed if you need to pick it up. Moving into the newer stuff here, 4 copies of the Kai level 1 combo. I think this is probably, in a vacuum, like the most stable, like best level 1 combo the set has. Even if I do prefer the door one. The Pants combo is very nice. So 2 or more other Guilty Gear characters on your field, so he's always going to be 5,500 power constant. And then on attack, he either looks at the top 4 of your deck for a Guilty Gear character, or he salvages a level 2 or higher Guilty Gear character. So your choice there. You can set up for a future, like higher level turn if you want, but I think generally, if you're like tri-fielding this at level 1, you're probably going to be going more for the look at up to 4 effect to speed through your first deck. And because you can hit like level 0s and level 1s with the first effect, you don't necessarily want to flood out on level 2 and 3s in your hands. But it's nice to have that utility on an effect that usually wouldn't have it. Usually the top check 4 on combo, you don't have a second effect with it. So just having the extra option is always nice. Some more new faces here. We got 2 of these different testaments. I like them both a lot. The first one here with the tipping the fedora here is on attack, choose one of your other Guilty Gear characters. It gets 500 power times the number of other characters. So it will give one of your other characters 2,000 power on a full field when it attacks, which is a nice utility card in its own right to have. Can help your Kais or whatever else get a reverse. And then also on attack, it gives itself and all your other characters, when you trigger a climax, you can discard a climax to salvage a character. So turns basically all of your characters into a way to pay out like extra pants that get stuck in your hand if you trigger a pants and don't need the climax. I don't know. I think it's just a pretty nice utility effect to have on, like, paired together with the extra power and the climax filter. So 2 copies of that, and then 2 copies of this SD Testament. This is another super cool one, Paru. So on play, you reveal top card of your deck, and this gets X plus X soul equal to the level of the card you reveal. And when your battle opponent gets reversed, if you have 3 or less cards in your stock, you can top deck the card you reverse. Mostly there for the first effect, being able to top check yourself and get extra soul. So early game, you can just push a shitload of damage on your first deck if you reveal something high costed. And you can kind of set it up too with the top 2 rearrange on the level 0. As you're dropping those repeatedly through the game, that can let you set whatever card you want on top for this, which can give you some pretty nice strategic side attacks as well. You can pump it a bunch of souls, swing for 4 or 5, or you could like pump it up like that and then just side attack for some precision damage. And occasionally being able to top deck a card is good, but even if you aren't able to set the top card of your deck for the soul, it still reveals the top card of your deck. So again, it can inform one of your brainstorms or Ricky's
or the Chad play. You reveal a level 3 on top, and then you target this with the May Restander, the May Cancel Burner, and you swing for like 8 in a direct lane.
So this first effect existed in like a Kimono Friends card and on like a level 2, and I remember thinking even that was like a war crime.
Yeah, this card is
it's just on a cost.
This card is this card's like super nutty. We were popping off about this at the end of the set review. It's like it gives you free top information, it swings for a bunch of soul, and it's just costless. It's just like, just like a lot of damage.
Sometimes it's just like fucking clock kicks your opponent.
It's got a lot of potential, I think, but I don't know.
It would definitely see the potential.
It'd be a big meme to just like slap 4 of this in your deck and just like say, I'm going to hit level 1 first and murder you. But could be worth testing, I guess. Just looking at the list all laid out here, I think I did not include a climax swapper when I had put this together originally. I think looking back here, I'd probably cut one of the Testaments just for, I think a single copy of the climax swapper is fine. I think you could cut either one copy of the plus power and I don't even know what the climax effect is called on that, or the SD Testament. I think you could cut one of either of those for the level 1 climax swap. But I mean, you have pants, so you might not need to. Moving into level 2s, a lot of familiar faces here. Same Jacko assist for our early plays and our level 3s at the top end. Splitting that so I can get a little bit more yellow in the deck with this Nagoriyuki assist, which is just a level assist that can rest himself to choose one of your characters and give them, when you reverse your opponent, you can send it to their stock and then bottom card out. So you can give stock kick to one of your early plays and hope remove one of their stickier early plays of their own. And he's yellow. Yep, got the same 2 backups I had before for some red and yellow fix. And I don't think you talked about this card in your build. Did you, Carmen? The Axel level 2. No, you did not.
No, I did not.
Really solid card. So 2/1 6500. When he attacks, he gets 1500 power times the number of your other guilty gears. So on a full field, he swings for 12, 5. And then also, his act ability is discard a card and send a guilty gear character from your memory to your waiting room. He gets 2500 extra power, and on reverse, you can send their character to the top of their deck. So a good early play killer that can, if you discard the card and send the memory, gets up to 12, 5, 15,000, and will top deck the card in front of it. So another way to hard remove the card in front of you with your own early play, or early play killer in this case. And then getting into the level 3s, 4 early plays, mixing them between the Faust that Carmen had in his deck and this Nagoriyuki early play, which early plays on 2 or less climaxes. It says your other characters can't side attack and heals on play, but he sits at 11k, which is pretty beefy. Again, just, nice having early plays with different conditions, I think, if you want to play 2 of them in the same turn. And yellow and blue fix, respectively. I think the cards are pretty interchangeable, but getting the different colors is nice here, I think. But the real important thing here is the top-end combo. So you have the May heals on play, and then when it attacks, you can pay to discard a card and put a Guilty Gear character from your memory into your waiting room. And then you get to choose one of your characters. It can be herself or someone else. Give them 1,000 power, and the effect, when damage dealt by this card is canceled, deal 2 damage to your opponent 2 times. So the goal is, going into your final turn, you have 2 memory set up, so you can get 2 of these Mays off, and you're going to stack those burn effects in your final lane, which is going to be this Kai. The Kai is on play. Choose a character level or equal to or lower than your level in your hand. Play it to your field and give it 2,000 power. So the Kai will play a Mei for free, and then he is also, at the end of this card's battle, pay 4, discard 2 cards on his opponent's reverse and restand him. So that's the main goal here, is we're going to stack Mei's effect, the first 2 Mei's effect on this Kai, swing with the Kai, and restand him. So the Kai is going to be swinging twice for 4 or 5 damage each time, and if they cancel, you're going to burn your opponent for 4 times, which is a lot of burn 2s. The math on it for what you need, because it's pretty stock and hand intensive, if you're going for triple Kai, or I'm sorry, if you're going for double Mei and a single Kai, is 9 stock and 8 hand.
That's a lot, considering that, like, Mei heals.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. But it's probably pretty potent, even in, like, single Mei. Like, because you're getting multiple attacks and the cancel burns. Honestly,
like
the Testament pushing all that soul. Honestly, I would rather, like, if I was double Mei, slam down the ST Testament, slam down the ST Testament, add like 2 or 3 soul, because you got a level 2, a lot of 2 or higher in this deck, and then just like swing in for 5, like with a single swing with 4 cancel burns. That'd be like,
yeah, if you don't get the full nut, if you don't quite get there with enough stock in hand for the Kai double Mei, that is a fallback. You could double Mei with the ST Testament to try to get those burn 2s off. So yeah, double Mei, single Kai is 9 stock, 8 hand. Alternatively, you could triple Mei and just stack all the effects on a single Mei or whatever. And that would be 10 stock, 7 hand after clocking. Which is, I guess you could potentially pivot into that if you wanted to, depending if you have like a little more stock or a little more hand. So I figured I'd throw that out there. But the main meat and potatoes is double Mei Kai. And that's going to be probably one of the strongest finishers the set can present, being 4 attacks and on cancel 2/2/2/2.
It's kind of messed up what they did to Mei here when Ichika exists.
yeah,
Like, why is this one is giving it to someone else really worth that, having to use like that many more resources? That's crazy to me.
Well, there is a lot of restanding, I think, like design space wise in Guilty Gear. Not just the Kai, but there's like, you know, the events.
You could give anything.
So
yeah, you could give anything restand technically.
that might be the design space, but it is a very expensive combo to pull off.
I think this will definitely be where people go for 1k1, or maybe even Pants Door, like Kai Soul. That would be something like a mixing of these two 1k1 strategies of some kind.
That's actually what I was thinking too when I was building the 8-door or the 6-door 2-bar deck.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of me wanted to, like, instead of the door combo at level 1, to use either standby to like help get souls out to cut down on like the cost and of stock in hand for triple combo, or just like Pants Door.
Yeah, just because Kai's so easy, you just toss him in. He's like such
a and then it gives you blue fix, it gives you deck speed, it gives you like everything, and then the Pants being able to grab the finishing combo is nice too. I just really like the door combo at level 1. I think that's such a good combo, but probably a more stable build would just be like the Pants Door. I mean, that also works really nicely because it's an on attack combo too.
Pretty easy in Guilty Gear to mix and match combos together. Things kind of work on their own. In fact, like the card with the biggest package around her is the Ram. Having like 3 cards to work together for the combo. That's more than you know, all these other combos and stuff. Not a set with a lot of canned things, which is like nice to see.
Are these like the 3 only like top ends pretty much?
For the most part.
Okay.
There's a Kai trial deck top end that sucks.
You can go for like the restander stuff with the restand events with the Troudek Kai. I mentioned it a bit earlier. You can get like 5 attacks.
It's a bad mocha.
With that fake mocha effect. Right. For a pretty affordable cost, but
it's
not
just
that
restand.
It's actually not that affordable. So
especially when compared to May,
worth it.
You might as well just play the May because you get the choice trigger and like a bunch of other good cards.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess other stuff you might not have seen, Paru. There's a level 1 choice combo that on attack like sits big and on attack salvages. That might be the only other like notable combo.
Yeah, it's a Nago.
Oh, and the other thing I saw people kicking around like when I was perusing Encore decks and stuff, people messing with the Gold Roger stuff. I think that's the like level
Gold
2
Lewis.
shot combo that like sits big.
Yeah, not
Gold
One Piece.
Roger.
I've been watching one.
Not One
I've been
Piece.
watching One Piece lately.
Yeah, the Gold Lewis. The 2/1 Gold Lewis is like fine. It's just worse than Mirren. So it's one of those like I could play bad Mirren on a bad trigger, or I could just go play Mirren.
What's the difference?
I've been seeing
like,
people,
what does he do?
I've been seeing people splash.
He gains soul instead of like he's like a and he only triggers if your opponent cancels.
Oh,
but
right.
he's a
okay,
2.
I did see that.
He's like a 2/1 like 11k2 soul, and his combos like on cancel salvage stock gain extra power.
Okay.
He's definitely fine. It's just not, it's not RAM.
Bad timing.
Not RAM. RAM is like because we don't. I'm super down on the fact that Guilty Gear doesn't have stock swap, especially for the modern meta, like where stock swap's so goddamn important. Like the reason Slime is as nuts as it is because it has a level 0 stock swap in the meta, like, and is like on power line, unlike Kaguya. Like, so having stock swap is that important. We have to do something to mitigate the fact that we don't have stock swap. Slamming our opponent every level turn Symphogear style from level 2 onwards seems like the best strategy to mitigate that we don't have stock swap. That's why I've been like going pretty all in on standby bar RAM. But there's a ton of other cool stuff in the set, especially like, for locals and whatnot. It doesn't really matter.
I guess one final point here with Pant's Choice I was going to mention is you do see that notable exclusion of the Fumio because it's so hard to fit in green. Like fitting in that 4th color would have been really hard because there's just not a ton of good green to play.
Yeah, green's really hard to fit.
And all the good cards at level 0 being red, it felt like, I feel like having to run 4 of the Jackos to hit my memory condition. And then, again, the Eno drop search, or the Eno Ricky is like such a good card, I think, too, that it would just be like really tough to like try to make this 4 color.
Yeah, it'd be a little rough. All right, well, wrapping up here. Like I said, probably not the last you'll see of Guilty Gear on this channel. There will definitely be some more coming. Upcoming set reviews, I literally have to go check the website to see what's coming out. What is coming out? We did Spy Family. We did Guilty Gear. We did Chainsaw Man. We have to do Lyco Reco, which we somehow haven't done yet. That'll probably be the next one. Saikano Finale. I don't even know if I care enough to do that one. Or I definitely don't care enough to do Bang Dream Mygo. I'm sorry. That's just a trial deck anyway. And then the other Bang Dreams thing is a reprint set. They're finally reprinting Christmas Cosme and Toilet. After
no way, really?
Yes, yeah, they finally are. Oh, and then there's Degeki Bunko and Bochi. Degeki Bunko Bochi, Lyco Reco, and I guess Saikano. I might do like here are like 10 relevant cards from Saikano Finale.
Damn, is it that rough?
Well, it's just like, dude, it's one of those sets where it's like this came out for, this is like a sequel set for a banned Japanese set, and they always stiff those things. Like,
it's true.
Finale is like, that deck's pretty sad. Even Kevin's sad when he has to play new Saikano. But we got Dengeki and Bochi, and maybe get Zach on for that. He's played a lot of Bochi. And then Lyco Reco. So we'll have those to look forward to, as well as more deck techs and more additional content. Andy, Paro, any shout outs before we get out of here? Anything you'd like to say?
You should get me on for Bochi.
Sure.
Around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the
We'll
scheduling.
see. We'll try to pull some
Scheduling
strings.
demon got hands. That's always
Right.
how it is.
Nope. I have no shout outs though.
Nothing.
Just glad to be here.
Hell yeah.
My
And-
only shout out is if we can get Psychono set 3, we can get Grisaya set 2.
Grisaya set 2 is somehow so much more interesting than Iconophoenix.
Did anyone buy Grisaya in English?
I did
Andy
because
did.
I thought they're printing 2 to 3 sets of Psychono. We're gonna get the second set for sure.
Like, did it make Bushiroad any
Oh,
money
no.
to bring that?
Who
over?
knows?
I bought a case.
Okay.
We'd have to ask Big B if it made any money. He would know. He's probably the only person who knows. All
They're still
right.
printing shit like Psychono set 3. They don't care about making money.
And with that, Pittsburgh White Shorts signing off. We'll see you all in the next one.